Alrighty. Sorry about the slightly late start. um, Dates on Discord, time zones, all the things. Let's have a look. So today we're going to be looking at asset creation, and sort of from start to beginning, including the concept stage, and then looking at the choices that you need to make in order to best best utilize the tools to make that asset, from how many materials, how many polygons, like all of the optimized choices that you can have. So we're going to be looking at a few things like that in this session, and hopefully get into making something. So um, let's jump in. So it's going to be a bit more of a theory session, I think, or a bit of a mix anyway. So let's start with step one, which is, what do you want to make? Let's put a what? Um, And let's make this a little better, a little bigger, sorry. Just so y'all can see it neat. All right. So the question is, what do you want to make? Now, when it comes to assets and stuff like that, like, so let's say you want to make a sofa for your space, you want to make a car, you want to make a statue, you want to make a character that's an NPC in your space. There's all anything's on the table. But each one will take different approaches to getting it down to be optimized for metaverse space. So we're going to look at some of those options. So just quickly, I guess, what would be sort of the categories? So the categories that off the top of my head, simple asset. This would include something like a sofa, shelves. What else could you be? A, is a I was going to say a door, but a door depends on the kind of door that you're looking at. Like if you're looking at an elevator, not an elevator, that's not a door. Automatic doors. The model is simple, but the approach to it is complicated. So, door. The functionality is the tricky part. The asset is pretty easy. I'll put it up here so you can actually see my head. What am I looking for here? This one. Yeah, there we go. All right. Safa. So far. What else might you do? A car's complicated. There's a lot of stuff on that one. Um, let's go a bit more general. Furniture in general. Props. Basic props like vases and stuff. Something like a plant, like a fern or flowers, that gets a little complicated because of the things that are involved there. So I'm going to keep up with basic props, and then I'm going to cheat and put etc. Now, um, let's do an intermediate. So intermediate asset would be something like plants. Is there a general word for that? Plant, plants or flowers. What else would be like things that require transparency or um, Yeah, transparency or textures that require transparency, because that gets complicated in regards to what kind of shader you're going to use, stuff like that. So there's a bit of that in regards to intermediate assets. Off the top of my head, it's a bit tricky. Glass, I guess. Anything that's glass. Or let's just put transparent assets. Might come back to that one because, yeah, there's only a couple of examples that fit into that one. And then we'll have advanced. Let's say advanced. Now, these are not keywords. These are not standards in any way. These are just what I'm playing with. But these would be things like sculptures. And I would like to spell it properly. Characters, definitely. Let's say, actually, vehicles would be intermediate. It's more complex, but it's kind of simple in how you do it. It would take a lot of time. It would have a lot of elements, but it's still a very simple thing. Now, when I call advanced asset, you're looking at sculpture, so that would be something like ZBrush sculpt, or something like that. If that makes sense. Um, and that would require the whole baking approach and all that sort of thing. Gotta practice not saying So I need a mark every time I say. Give me a reason not to do that. Also that one. So looking at advanced assets, you're looking at sculptures, characters, or anything that requires more organic shapes, I guess is a key word there. Now, the reason we look at those is because each of these have different approaches, especially simple and intermediate versus advanced. So we're going to be looking at that. Moving on to the how. Now, target. The reason we need to look at these is because we need to get a lot of things lower than expected. So if you're looking at uh, what would you call it? Unreal or a client-based engine, they have a lot more scope for creating assets. So especially with Unreal now, with Nanite and Lumen, for example, you can have nearly as many polygons as you want. I'm not sure what the material slot draw call situation is, but you have a lot of freedom. That said, you also need the client and kind of a good computer. With WebGL, you don't have access to that. You're looking at WebGL spaces, which do need to consider poly count, material count, texture size, and a few other things, but those are the main three if you're getting started. So, let's put that down. So we need poly count, poly count, material count, because that's draw calls, and draw calls are what slows, well, not slows down. Draw calls are the thing that makes the computer think harder, I guess you could say. So if you have 1,000 draw calls, and I don't know what the numbers are, and it also depends on your computer what it can handle. So a low end laptop can handle draw calls a lot poorer than say 4090 RTX. And texture size. Texture size is more of a RAM thing. So how much information can be loaded into your RAM to process quickly. So if you have 40, 90, like 4K textures, you're gonna have the space is gonna have a time processing that information. Um, so we try to not to keep that. Um, Now let's have a look at some of these. I think for most assets, we can kind of look at the poly count of avatars. So give me a second. I'm going to pull that up. And you can use that as a guide. Now, of course, you want it less. Um, but this one here. So on the VRM requirements, we basically have some targets that you can work with. And these are good goals for use of assets. If you create to these specifications, your asset will probably be pretty good, depending on what the asset is, of course. But something like a sofa, like anything human-sized or less, should definitely be less than these. And of course, this is the goal: excellent VRM specs. So if you get that, you're doing great. So size doesn't matter. So skip that one. Less than 8 meg, that's probably very true. Most assets that I make, like a sofa, like things like that, you're looking at less than 1 meg. So you definitely want to get less than 7,500 polygons, 15,000 triangles. So it depends on how you're counting it. Polygon is basically two triangles put together. So a square is a polygon and a tri is a triangle. Mesh and material count is good because one material means one draw call. But that's when it gets a little complicated. So you have a lot of people who will... Let me try something. This one. The thing. No. Ah, there it is. Okay. So if you had an asset, so let's say we make... this is going to be great. A ball, and then we wanted some cool lines in it that was a different material, with a random cylinder like so. Prime 3D material here. Now, one approach that many might think of is ah okay is sort of coloring this in one material and then coloring this material and then coloring this material. So even though, let's say this candy, so let's call it candy. So let's say this candy would have three materials, which is three draw calls. When in fact the ideal approach would be to create one material for all three. Now today I'd like to look at that because I think draw calls is a very important element of creating aspects of an asset. So we'll be looking at that. I also find like quite fun with simple like stylized assets, like more low poly style. You can do it really small, and trying to just show off in getting a 16 by 16 texture for a huge asset is kind of fun. So we're gonna do that. Okay, so that's that. So poly count, a low, material count low, and texture size low. So when it comes down to it, there's three methods off the top of my head. The first one is what we did at the last workshop, which was trim sheets. This creates relatively complicated assets with one material that can look really quite good and complex. So check that out if you get the time. So trim sheets is one. Creating assets with a, let's say, complex material as the base. So you're kind of bouncing between designing your asset to the material rather than making a material to the asset. And let's call that complex trim sheets. Method two is it trim sheets? Uh, Same thing. Creating assets with a simple material as base. So this is the one I'm probably going to look at today, where you can create a very simple trim sheet of just color. So there's no normal maps or anything like that. It's purely just color. And if your asset is simple enough that it doesn't require complex normal maps, then this is great. So you could have like a 32 by 32, and if you're really fine, you could actually make each pixel a different color, but maybe a bit bigger. And then put all your polygons into those colors to do that. Um, Sorry, got distracted. So we're looking at that one today. Method three is kind of the big one. Um, what How to make advanced assets that one, if it has sculpting or very fine detail, that you can bake into a normal map to get the poly count down and the quality up, if you guess you could say. This one takes probably they all take about the same sort of time depending on what you're doing. So I'm not going to put a timeline on any of these, but yeah. So let's call this one retopology plus baking. Creating high polygon assets, then tracing, retopologizing or tracing the asset to low poly, and then baking the high poly information into the low poly. Now, I have done a number of different workshops or things in the past with normal maps. On my channel, there was one that did retopology on what do you call it? Scanning 3D objects, photogrammetry. With Sam, that was fun. But of course, you could do it with Sculpt in ZBrush, Blender does sculpting now too. So retopology and baking is kind of the other approach. And just because it is a method, but I don't like it, um, is multiple material assets. Creating low poly assets that have different materials. Okay, so those are the hows. Um, so that's basically what we're looking at today in regards to what do you want to make and how do you make that particular asset. Then we'll make one. So I'd like to look at method two because I haven't really looked at that one before, where you have a simple trim material of different types, and then applying that to an asset of some sort, if that makes sense. So let's do that. Step one, method. How do we do this? Next page. Method two. First, reference. Find cool stuff. So draw, um, Google search, ArtStation, AI is going to be a big one for this moving forward, I think, for better or worse. What are the other ones? Stable diffusion, etc. Stuff like that. Um, Find reference. Um, so today, if anyone's in the chat, feel free to throw out some ideas of what things to make. But you can never go wrong with like a sofa, um, or couch or something like that. Yeah, and that's a good one to sort of show different materials. So the goal in this case is I want to make a multi-material asset, relatively simple, and then create that with the thing. So on that, two, uh, plan, and I think you don't need to do this, but I plan a little bit. Um, Decide which is the best approach. So in my case, I'm going to make it sofa. I think method two is good. Great. Start making it. Done. So let's get to start making it. Actually, no, I'm going to do some reference. I'm gonna see if the Mona Mid Journey is. I tried it yesterday and it was like too busy, so this might not actually work. Um, so let's have a look. Imagine. Um, let's cool. Let's go with modern. No, futuristic. 3-seat sofa. Um, hmm. Soft and hard detail. Hopefully they'll throw some different materials in there. Um, let's do some cool. That'll do. Will it work? Please work. Do the thing. All right. We'll let that go for a bit and see how that goes. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is create the material for our asset. Now, there's a few different approaches to this. I've got one that I've been playing around with lately in regards to having a bunch of materials um, in two different uh, types. So one would be soft, one would be like metallic. Okay, my sofa's coming through. It's kind of cool. Right. All right. So I got these. Now, this is actually a perfect example of regards to the baking thing. So this one's all curves, and that is a little tricky to do in a low polygon without making it look smooth. So I could do this one with the advanced approach, so method 3 I think it was. This one on the other hand is a bit sharper, and I kind of like it. So let's go with this one. What are these? I forget these ones. 4. Is it 4? I think it's 4. Haven't used this in a while. Don't break it because that's cool. No. No. We'll see how the variations go. Put that back over here. So, new file. Now, of course, all textures need to be square in Unity. So for this one, let's go kind of smaller. Let's do 256 by 256. Done. This is it. So, plan is, based on that, is we kind of want gray and blue. Same thing. That one better. Um, yeah, let's just do that. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to make. Now, of course, that would take a lot more time. But in this case, we actually need two colors. Three colors. So we've got the sofa material, the blue emissive. Let's add another emissive, and let's put a metal. So put like underneath it, you got that block. And I think that'll be good. So I can do this much smaller. 8 by 8. This is where it gets fun. Like how do you get it and how small can you get it? So I'm gonna put this in the middle because we have 4 colors here. Um, let's keep to what it uses. I want it to be a little bit blue, maybe. I think that'll be nice. Use that color for the main. The only problem with this approach is the fact you can't really get detail. But if we use the second not the UV map, the second detail map, we can actually put a little bit on there. So I'm gonna give that a shot and see what happens. But yeah, so we need the color, we need the metal. So let's sort of put that down there. That one. We need our first emissive, which could be. Let's go with blue. We can change it later. And another one, which is kind of the opposite of that, which is kind of a yellow, maybe. Come. Uh, so those are the colors. Now the next one we need to do is emissive. So I'm actually going to grab these two, copy, paste, and then make the rest black. Doesn't glow. That's the emissive. Now the last one we need to do. So we kind of want the emissive things to be shiny, but not metallic. This is where it gets complicated because Unity has an annoying approach to metallic and smoothness. So let's see how we go. Now, I always forget which one's which. So let's look at getting a Mona space up and running. Let's go asset creation 101. And we want this in here. And open. Welcome to the chat. Feel free to say hi. Tell us what you're about. Tell us what you're up to. I want to know. So the reason I'm loading Unity is so I can see what what is it? The red and alpha channels on the metallic and smoothness are. I always get the two mixed up. I do feel that metallic is red and alpha is smoothness. Hey Philippe, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask. Definitely all for questions. First open is always long. So let's go back. um, so let's focus on smoothness, whatever it is. So the sofa part is not smooth. So I'm gonna make that one a little bit gray. That'll be that. Metal is very smooth. So I'm going to put that one up here, I think. Yep, that works. And I kind of want the two glows to also be quite smooth as well. Let's actually put that maybe down there. Go. And for metallic, I'm gonna do this is a new approach that I am trying, where basically I can put this in the alpha, select that, and then apply that. So I'm gonna try that. So basically, everything, the only one that metallic is this one. So let's make that one very metallic. And the other one's zero metallic, which is black. After that. Anyway. So we're going to have 4 colors. Materials. Well, 3 because those two go together. Here we go. Go to Mona, load space scenes, remove the untitled, and we have our space. So, first let's make a material. Create material. And let's go up here. So, metallic. So if you roll over it, just for a second, it'll take a second. So, Where was it? Metallic is R and smoothness is A. So let's do that. And Control A, Control C, channels, new channel, sure, paste. Hold Control, select that, then do this one. Remove and remove. And then we have our, hopefully we have our metallic and smoothness. So if I go to save, export, export as PNG. Now we're going to put this into our space that we opened. So I'm glad I did that already. Tutorials, workshops, asset creation, VS Code, not that one, assets, add your art, textures. So let's go sofa, metallic and smoothness. Save. We'll see how that goes. Next up, we want emissive. E. And then we want background. No, not background. Diffuse. Sofa D. All right. So we have three tiny. It's that big. It's great. Very tiny textures to create. Now, just for interest sake, I'm going to try and make that with the assets that we just put in. So for D goes into the albedo. Now, notice how it gets all blended. And that's fine. That's good for larger textures. It sort of cleans up some of the issues. But when it comes to this sort of thing, we don't want that. Now, to do that, we can go to select these, and we go to filter mode, and then go none. So just note, filter mode, not wrap mode or any of these. It's just the filter mode. Go to point no filter, and then go sofa, go save, and then you'll see that it's very clean. So that way, it doesn't do any of the blending, which is quite useful for high detailed textures. So it saves a bit on that one. So that's cool. Next up, metallic and smoothness. Let's see how that goes. Excellent. Actually, no. Ah, okay. Got it. I'll change that in a sec. And then emissive. I have to turn emissive on. And then we can put the color in. That, which is good. Basically, this comes down to intensity, so let's put 1. And that should be good to go. Right, now, with this one, I want to see if I can just invert that. Yeah. It's so small. The metal is shiny, the surface is soft, the emissive is bright. Okay, excellent. So just on that, let's have a look, because I always mess this up. So when it comes to the alpha, white is metallic and black is not metallic. So that actually makes sense. I don't know why I got that wrong. So let's get to making an asset. Now I use Blender. Blender is amazing. It's free. And seems to be picking up in the actual industry. You see Blender coming up in job applications and stuff. So it's in Maya, 3D Studio Max, and Blender. So it's definitely getting there, which is great. because it is a fantastic tool. I actually moved from 3D Studio Max to Blender myself um, a while ago now. Okay, so let's pull up my over here. Let me see. Right. So I have this in a thing as reference. I could actually put this into Blender if I want, but I'm gonna, because it's not front and side, I can't use that as direct reference. Now notice in this one, it actually has a lot of these sort of details. We can't do that in this approach. That would be sort of like the retopology. So you would bake this detail into the texture. And maybe I'll do that in another workshop. Like, what are the different ways we can make this particular asset? But I want to do super optimized and super low poly, and I guess super stylized as well. So we're actually going to be modeling all of these shapes to with the asset that we just made. So it's going to be quite fun, I think. All right. So let's look at making a box. Okay, how can I, just in case chat says something, any questions? So add mesh cube. Now, for some reason, and I don't know why, the default cube is 2 by 2 by 2 meters. Notice when if I change some things, the scale will go down. We need to always reset that before sending it to Unity. So I use Control A, and scale is the main one, but very commonly I'll do all transforms, and then they'll be 1, 1, 1. So before exporting, make sure to do that. G, Z, and using Control to snap, we can do that. How big is this so far? Well, let's find out. Dimensions of a 3-seat sofa. That inside for a 3-seat sofa is about 90 inches wide, and in human terms, 228. Cool. That's the main one I'm after, actually. So let's reduce that. We might use that later. So, scale X. Nope, we're going with Y on this one. So let's go 2.3. We want a comfy wide couch. Good. Cool. Once again, all transforms. Now, there's a few reasons why I'll do it, so I'll just do it occasionally. But yeah, when you're using inset and things like that, and we'll get to those in a second, there is definitely an element of whatever. Is there a way? Okay, hang on. Tool. Background. No, I like the grid. I'm going to put a reference. And I just saved the sofa to my desktop. There you go. Now, it will load it at the angle of the space. So let's try that again. Sort of just put it up here. Just out of curiosity, let's try background. May hate this. Huh. Yeah, we'll just do that. Y, control to snap. Now I'm going to be using the one on, what do you call it? Just so we can have it there, so you know what I'm doing. Now let's get into editing. So usually what I'll do is start general and then go detail. So we need sort of that one there. Control R to add a loop, put that one there. And then I'm going to press 3 so you can select polygons. We need another one down here, so Control R to maybe, I'll keep that there. And then many different approaches. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to try something because I kind of like this one. Would like to use it more. So there's one called Extrude Manifold, which does that. And I just want to make sure those are connected. So that's good. So that sort of saves a bit of the cleanup. So I don't mind that one at all. And then this one needs to go up. So I'm going to press E to do that. So you sort of got your basic shapes there. We'll worry about the cushions later. And that's fine. Now, next up, that's kind of your primary. Now, the thing is here, and this is interesting because now I've noticed that that original approach would have actually been better. I'm going to do that. And in this case, I'm actually going to delete these two faces. Delete. And do this. So select this. Press E. X to go back. Press those two with holding shift to select them both. Right mouse click and then go bridge edge loops. And in this case, I'm going to press F and F to close those. Now I could have done that there as well. Now the F key, super useful. I highly recommend it. That one though, you need to actually add. So go to Blender Preferences, Add-ons, and go F2. And make sure that is on, and that allows you to press F and closes a few things. So super, super useful. So that's good. All right. And then we want this one up as well again. So straight up there. Now, second stage. Let's make those upper pieces up the top. I don't actually like the dip, so I'm going to keep that up a bit. So in that case, I don't actually need to go 3. I do need to do this though, because I don't mind that. That's kind of cool. So scale S, X, Y, sorry. There we go. Yeah, that's cool. We also have kind of that, and I don't mind that, so I'm going to keep that in there. Put that there. Press 2. Select those two with Shift. G, Z for movement. Now notice how the front's not going down, so I'm going to do that and that. Instead, G, Z. That's good. Now, if I do this, you'll notice that it doesn't select all of the assets, and that's because with Blender, you kind of need to go X-ray mode if you want to do that. So I'm going to select all those. S for scale, Y. There. Then I'm going to G, then Z to make that go down. Maybe to about there, because I want to move those up to there. right? You can already see the basic shape coming along quite easily, which is cool. Now you got those going in. Hmm, yeah. Now there is a useful one in here. Where is it? Edge slide. This allows you to actually move it up and down, which I want a bit higher because the cushions are going to be in that. So maybe about there. And I want that to go a little bit wider, so SY to sort of square that up. That's good. Now at this point, I'm not too worried about polygons because I'm going to clean that up. And some of these, when you've got edge loops, if I hold Alt and click, I can select the whole edge loop if I need to. So that saves a bit of time with a lot of this, and then we can clean up them once we have the actual shape that we want to keep. So there's that. Now, do we want that? Kind of don't. Yeah. No, I'll leave that as is. Okay. Now, some other things that we need to do is kind of this element and those elements. So for the top, we're just going to grab both. Um, Now, this is a good example where inset is a thing. So all of the scales are 1 to 1 to 1, but I'm going to do it anyway. Control A, all transforms, to make sure that when I do an inset, the all of the elements are kind of what would you call it? Equal. So sometimes like these scales would be thicker or thinner than the edge because the transform wasn't applied. So that's definitely a thing that is quite useful. So keep that in mind. Now, what's a good way to make this just there? Yeah, let's do it again. Good. Grab these. Now, one useful tool, if I hold control, it will go to that polygon or a selection in the shortest way possible. So that's a very useful tool as well. Let's press E, move that. How far back? Maybe about that. Now, I want all of the indentations to kind of be the same depth. So I'm going to go minus 0.02. No, that's a bit deep. Minus 0.01. That works. So I'm going to keep that in mind when I do these impressions elsewhere, just to make the standard so it looks correct. So that would be emissive. Now, let's. Hmm. So that's going to be easier, but I wanna do this bit down here and see what happens with that. So that's all connected. I could make it a box. I could make it separate, but let's do this. I'm going to cut. So K for a knife. Put that there, and then press space. I'm going to grab that and go scale S, X, sorry, Z, and then go 0, just to make sure that's flat. That's good. And then I'm going to use the manifold here. If I press 3 to go to the polygon. Now, of course, you could use these 3 up here, but because you will change them so often, 1, 2, and 3, super useful. And put that in. Now, this is a bit deeper. Like that. Now, I kind of like that element. I think I like that element. Do I like that element? Sure, why not? Let's do it. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4 cuts. So Control R, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Now what I'm going to do with these ones, Alt click, and then scale S, Y, and then 0. And that will allow you to line up these a little bit cleaner. Because we want to do maybe there. Scale Y, there. Now for this one, what do we want to do? Let's get all 3. G, Z. Ah, G, Z. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. Just a bit of glow there. That's good. So we're definitely getting there. Next up, let's do this one. So once again, hold Control, snap across, much faster. And Control A just to be sure. And then inset. Now you're gonna have some issues, but we can clean that up pretty easy. I'll go there. And let's get some of that cleanup. So Z, Z, 0. S, Z, 0. Okay. Next up. Another tool. And I'm going to do that now. Put that in. So Control R to add a loop. Get rid of all this. And mirror it. So down here in modifier properties, add modifier, mirror. And let's go Y. That way you only have to worry about this one side, and then we can get rid of that loop later. Because otherwise, like, I would have to try and figure out how to make these align, I guess you could say. That's the cushion. Well, let's do this. I'm going to grab all those. Z S scale. Z0. So, same with this one. Move it up. There. That there. Don't know why. There. There. Move those two up to there. Notice that there's also there, which is pretty cool. So I don't mind that. Okay. Now I'm not. It's me being me. I'm going to cut this one with a K to add a knife, and then I'm going to get rid of this one um, for reasons. So delete and not delete edges. You want to dissolve the edges, so it just gets rid of it. So I can still select that if need be, but that's all nice and clean because we can extrude that. Again, minus 0.01. Alrighty. How we're looking. Pretty good. I don't know if I like this incidentally, but we'll keep it there for now. We do want the edge there to be flat though. G, Y, just a little bit. And because that wasn't on, try again. And let's do the same up here so it all lines up properly. There. Well, okay, cool. Now let's put a pad on here because that's cool. Every sofa needs pads. The X to about there maybe. That again. And this one, I'm just going to go line, I think. So put that there. Space. And let's go another one here. I kind of like that element there. So let's try this. I'm not sure if this is going to work very well, so I'm going to go bevel. It's going to work great. Excellent. And for these, I think I might just make these ones a little bit higher. So E up. And in this case, let's do 0.01. Cool. Standards, man. You got to have them. Okay. How are we looking? Not bad. So I think at this point we could probably look at the cushions. Now, do I want that? Kind of not. I don't really like that. So I think I'm going to do this sort of thing across all 6 of them. Let's do that. Yeah, let's just do that. Add. Cube. Scale down. That's Z. Let's put that in the middle. There we go. Now I think, what is it? I don't use this very often, but this would actually be a very good use for it. So I'm going to try and copy that. X, nope. Y, nope. It's linked. How do I link something again? There we go. I'm pressing Y to get that across. sort of put that in the middle. So when I edit this, I'm hoping, yeah, doesn't link anymore. Why not? 50 to duplicate. Good to me. All right. Maybe a bit bigger, just to get it right in there. Cool. Put that on. Move that forward a bit to there. We're probably going to lean that a little bit as well, but we'll worry about that in a sec. Now let's join those two. So that's one. And let's mirror this for reasons. Faces, add modifier, mirror. Thank you. Now, going to line by pressing 2. Do that. And then we want to bevel. Yeah, about that much. Notice how that is seemingly wider than that, and I think that comes down to not that, the Control Alt thing. So if I do that again, you'll notice that it's all a little bit more aligned with what I would like it to look like. Just move that a little bit. Now, if you want to, if you're using mirror, you can use clipping. So once you GY to move it, it won't go further than the middle, and it sort of adds it all and merges it, which is good. So that's what we want. Now, small note on that one. Notice how everything is really sharp, but these are like cushions. So we want to go object, shade, smooth. That looks a lot better. All right. Now, because what's going on there? Because we kind of want to change the style a little bit, I'm just going to duplicate those with Shift D and then rotate them. Kind of want, how much of a slope? Maybe that. Now, if we go transform, we want these to be, where's the local button? Let's just go there and then scale there. Now these do have to be a little bit thinner, like so. The other option, and I don't mind this one, is we actually make a cushion that goes into these corners. Let's do that. So straighten that up again. Move it down. because of that, I might actually move this across as well. No. Move it to above that. What is going on there? Well, to be honest, I don't mind it. That's kind of cool. Ah, that's why. Happy mistake. I'm going to set the origin to geometry, so that way I can just rotate it like that. Holding down control to snap. 1, 2. I think that's good. Ah, no. Okay, set origin. No. Redo. And then control A. Now, the reason it's doing that is because I moved the pivot to the center of the object, and mirror is based on the pivot. So I'm going to control A and put location there. And then you can sort of see that happening. So for me to fix that, the way I do it, and I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but this is how I do it, is move it to the 000 of the space, control A, and then just go all transforms. And then that's fixed. Okay. What else do we need to do? Kinda, do we want... that's looking good. I'm not minding that at all. Let's put the base on. Now, if I wanted to, I've always been of a mind that everything needs to fit perfectly. Like this has to be one mesh and everything needs to be joined. This is not true. So I'm going to straight up say that. So what I'm going to do is add a new cube, scale it up, S, Y, maybe to there. Let's put X-ray on so we can get that. G, Z, put that there. GX, maybe there. And done. Now note though, that slide there will never be seen. But if you render it in Unity, Unity will see it and count that. So even though it's only two triangles, it is a good habit to get into where you're just deleting everything that is never seen. And there we have a base. I think I do kind of want to do what they're doing here. Adds a bit more detail, a bit more interest. So for that, I'm going to Control R. So what do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sure. And use the manifold again because that's kind of good for this sort of thing. Make that there. Kind of cool. And then let's just scale Y, holding control. That's kind of cool. Um, I kind of feel like moving that back a bit. So I'm going to have to add some polygons in there with a knife tool. Shortcut K. The back need it? We'll put it in anyway. Probably. The catch here is we need to... Yeah, let's just add that in there. Once again, Control R for that one. K for the knife tool. Control R, move that down. Roughly, we'll just eyeball it, that's fine, because we can flatten it in a second. K to knife it. Right, flat. X-ray to make sure we get all of these, and then SZ0. Subtle, but important. And then we want these ones to go back. So that's a G and an X. Maybe to there. I think I'll leave the back one as is. All right. What else do we have? I think we're definitely getting there. I think we need to make this one a bit wider. So for this one, I'm actually going to go wireframe because I want to see that. So that's the width, which is, let's say, 1, 2, 3. That's like not even. So let's go. This is going to be a bit trickier. But we'll be fine. Maybe there. Yep. There we go. All right. So that looks like a futuristic chair. I might move this one in a bit. I actually don't really like that so much. So let's go scale Y. Make that there. Yep, that's better. I kind of want to put a bit of a glow under there. I'm just going to Control R, move that down. There. Hide some stuff. Yeah, let's just E that one. Nope, X. We'll clean that up later. All right. What else do we have? I think we want the side bit. So let's do that. Now, yeah, kind of all of it. Let's all transform it just to make sure. Insect. So let's go. Do I want that? No. I'm going to do this instead. And then actually just get rid of these faces, and then I'm going to move these two back. so. And then we can sort of join these up again. So once again, because I have the F2 add-on, just F that. Good. Grab these again. Make it a bit smaller. I don't think this is going to work, but I'll give it a shot. All right, then. It does work. Awesome. Excellent. Then we're doing another inset, so about 3. So we want it to be at sort of the length as everything else is. That works. Do we want the circle? Not really. It kind of, hang on, so you can see it. I don't actually like this on the grounds that everything else is quite straight, and then you have this like circle. So I'm actually not going to include that because I don't think it suits. But I am going to inset, not inset, extrude by normal on this one. Minus 0.01 works for me. All right. Now, of course, you'd probably want to clean that up, do all sorts of things. The last thing I'll do is clean up the polygon count just to make that good. And then we can kind of look at materials. So I'm going to not select those two because I like those two particular ones, but the rest of them can go. So I'm going to go delete. And once again, you don't want the edges, you want to dissolve the edges so they just go away. Hmm. Okay, fine. Dissolve edges. Now with these ones, for example, I want that to close off. Once again, very small amounts of difference, but I find it very important and just a good habit to get into. So that got rid of one triangle. Now we can get rid of these ones. Delete dissolve edges. These ones, delete dissolve edges. That's clean. We want these ones. Yep, that's good. We want these. Nope. These ones. Dissolve edges. Let's see what happens here. This might. Nope, that's good. And just for cleanup purposes, I'm going to put one there as well. That's a bit neater. Um, hmm. Notice how I selected that and then did the control because the closest is actually under, but that's not what I want. So for the intermediate, I'm actually just going to select manually there. Dissolve edges, make sure nothing gets deleted for that, which it doesn't, so that's good. Good. And there's another one back here. Oh, that's the halfway point, which we're going to get rid of once we clean all of this up. This one can go. Yep. This one I'm going to manually do. I'm going to move that. Well, actually, this gets, I want that to be cleaner because it's a bit weird, to be honest. So how are we going to do that? How about we move that one across that axis like so. And then across that way. Excellent. That way we can get rid of, well, I'm just going to join these ones. So I'm going to merge vertices at last, merge vertices at last, merge vertices at last. Okay. Let's plonk that there. Generally, it's good to sort of make polygons for these sort of very still, not animated assets. The polygon count, the polygon layout is less important. But yeah, if this was animated, so if you're doing something like a shoulder or something, these they need to be like lines, if you could say, because if you had a decimated mesh or just a whatever mesh, it's not going to animate well. So keep that in mind. So for example, I'm going to get rid of that one and then join this one to this one, and that makes a polygon there. Again here, there to there, and there to there. Polygon, 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 polygon. Perfect. Now, because all of this is flat, we can actually get rid of a lot of these as well. So I'm going to keep that one there, though. Squish these both down to there. And this one too. And then get rid of that one. Now, what we do want to do is actually rotate that panel because flat back is not fun. So let's go X-ray mode so we can sort of see what's going on. That one there. Right. We also kind of do I kind of like it flat, to be honest. So I might leave that. You probably won't even see it because of the cushions, but that's what I'm going to do. We also need to move this one, incidentally. Okay, so the cushion's good, I think. So I'm going to join those as well. Notice how it disappeared. I think that's because of the mirror thing. So let's get rid of those. And then join them. Yeah, that works. It keeps the mirror. And we can actually get rid of that. So I'm going to go to the arrow, go apply, go edit, because we need to get rid of this particular thing. Delete, dissolve edges. That's great. And the last one. Now we have a bunch of polygons there that we need to get rid of. So let's do that. So basically anything that's flat we need to get rid of. So I'm going to grab those and the back ones as well. We've got that dip there, so I'm going to keep that one. And then just go delete, see what happens. That's fine. We also have that, so I'm going to delete that one. Dissolve edges, that's good. And just for clean purposes, I'm going to put those two in there as well. Excellent. Done. I think we have our base. Now, the thing is, we actually want all of these to be joined, but I'm going to keep them separate because I want to do the material. So let's do that. So first I'm going to go to shading. Go to material, which is here, and we're going to go to a new material. We're going to call this sofa without caps. Now we have our textures. The only one we want is the diffuse because we need to know what areas are what. So I'm just going to grab that. Hey, David. Most likely, yes. I will put it in the library because that'll be cool. And of course, if you have any questions, queries, feel free to ask. Here to help. What am I trying to do? So far we want the diffuse. So I'm just going to drag that into there. Hope that works. Oh, that's a meta. No, we want that one. Yeah, there we go. And then we go to base color. And we also need to, hang on. Figure out why. One thing. This is one of the two things that annoys me about Blender is when you multi-select some things, it doesn't actually apply to all of them. Adding materials is one of them. It's a bit frustrating, but easy to fix. So I have that. Now, let's go into... I'm going to select all the objects because I want to edit this on the texture. I also need to show the texture here. So I'm going to go to open on this section here. That's very small, but you can zoom in. So that's fine. So we're going to grab all of that. All of that. We didn't apply that. We'll fix it after. No, we'll apply it now. Get it done. Okay. Select all the three objects, put tab on, put X-ray on, select all the things, go UV, smart UV project. Why not? Done. Beautiful. Why isn't it showing up here? Is it too small? Is that what's going on? Showing up. What? Why? Is it too small? Is that why? Because I'm not in the right thing. Might have something to do with it. Okay, so going up to UV editing, not shading. Shading allows you to create the tool so you can see it on the asset. UV editing allows you to UV edit. Apologies on that. So there we go. Now I'm going to scale all of that and put it into the sofa here. Good. Now let's get into the other thing. So I'm going to use Control L, and that will select everything in that seam, which is kind of fine. So I'm going to put that over here. As you can see, it's already starting to get a different effect. So I'm going to put these ones, get over here. Actually, I'm just going to select all of them, actually. So what else is glowy? Dink, 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 dink. Is that it? Do we want the sides? No, I kind of want the sides to be the other color. So I'm going to move them down here to there. See how this looks, I think. So basically what we're doing is we're putting it in the color. Now this is like 4 pixels by 4 pixels. It's quite small. But it does the job. The thing is, it does do the blendy thing in here, but I'm hoping that it won't in Unity. I'm pretty sure it won't, so that's fine. Now, one thing I do need to do is get rid of that and that. Now, for reasons, well, let's give it a shot. Let's see what it looks like. So I can join all this now. Join. Name it. Now, just so you question there, David, we're currently tweaking a couple of the back end side of things, so I'm not too sure. That said, if you submit it, I can see if I can chase it up for you to make it up there as you like. But it does have to go through so like a QA process just to make sure it's all right. Do you have the Mona submission form, library submission form? Yeah, those are all one, but have it. It also changes the pivot, so if I rotate it from this, it's going to be pretty cool. So let's go back to layout. Let's go to export FBX. Not that one. Assets, models, future. So selected objects. And just if it's not animated, what is it? They give you a warning here as well. Um, if it's animated or rigged, this is not a good thing to do. But if it's just furniture that's static, I will put an apply transform on, just because sometimes in Unity it doesn't do it. This increases the chances of it being the right size. So FBX there. And let's go. So we want our sofa to have our material. So because I applied that in Blender, it has something to put it onto. Go apply. The back is a bit weird, so I'm going to have to fix that. But everything else looks great. Okay, sure. That might have something to do with it. So let's grab that and put that up here. Bottom as well, probably. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Again, this is what I really like about Unity. You just save over the top and it'll update it and it's done. Excellent. Cool. So we have our sofa with our material and it's the right scale. We've got somewhere for the avatar to sit. um, so let's. So other approaches, like say for example, you might want to bevel a lot of these edges to get the same sort of smoother effect here. So it really depends on if you want like a very technical hard edge thing, or you want some nice bevels in there. Because this is a very like small polygon, very low material count, e.g. one. Even though you technically have three, it's one. Four actually, because we've got the metal as well. Um, there's that. Now, another thing to do, just in case, if you go to model, make sure to turn on generate light map UVs. That way, if someone imports your asset into their space and they do light mapping, so they make it static, the light maps will be done properly. So there's that. Another thing I wouldn't mind trying. Let's do. I think we actually have some in here, so I'm gonna use these assets. If I can find them, floor. Yeah, this one. Um, that's another tool, which is kind of cool. Of course, you would use a better texture. Um, Now, what you would have to do, and I might do it, is basically make sure that everything is flat. Um, so over here, you can see that they're stretched. So you want to make sure that everything is flat, and that way you can do some cool stuff with that. So if this was like a texture, like a material texture, that would actually look really good. Even though, so you're using two textures, one extremely small one and one sort of normal size one to get that sort of generic detail in there. Now this applies to everything, so that includes the light map and stuff. But because you can't see it because it's light, like it's emissive, that's actually pretty cool. You can actually do that with the diffuse as well. So if I do that, you sort of get that effect, which is quite interesting actually. But as you can see, it's on the metal as well. So pros and cons to balancing that element, but you can do that to do some cool effects if you're using this effect. For me though, I think I might actually leave it off. Yeah. I wanted that to be metal as well. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do here uh, is Control plus, and that will basically expand everything by 1. So I'm going to undo that because I want to do that over here as well. Control plus, and then move that over here. Oh, layout, export, FBX, over the top, go. Excellent. Ah, what's going on there? That is. Um, so for some reason, a lot of that's yeah, okay. So that's on me. I'm gonna try that again. So let's go Smart UV project. Okay. And this goes into the sort of element of the second UV. So you want everything to be flat and to scale. That way, this won't be as much of a problem. So I'm just gonna have to, unfortunately, do a lot of this again, basically. Like, I want everything to be the same size as well. So I'm gonna try that again. Now, the reason I want it to be all the same size is because if I use that second UV, it will scale correctly, if that makes sense. So I'm going to put that there, and then I can start moving things around to where it needs to be. So Control L for all of that. Put that over here. Certainly. So we'll get to that in a sec. Down here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 2, 3. Then we've got the metal up here as well. Yeah. So it's pretty easy to do, to be honest. You want that metal? I think that might be cool. Plus, put that over here. Yeah, that's cool. Maybe that. Yeah, I kind of want that metal as well now, because that'd be cool. So, K, snap. Yeah. Then we can kind of get rid of these two here. We don't need those. Just some final cleaning up. Mainly because I want this to be metal. Now I do kind of want that to be raised a little bit more. So I'm going to do that. Make sure it's the correct amount. And then delete that. All right. Good. Um, yeah, so what I would probably do is just clean up the edges, like a little bit of a bevel. Now, if I want to, and I do, I want to see statistics. So there, this is less than 500 triangles. No, 500 polygons. Sorry. So yeah, I would probably go into making a lot of these like slightly beveled just to get that like neat little thing. And I think that's fine because yeah, the polygon count is ridiculously low for an asset that looks kind of with this many different materials, which is one. So it's pretty good, to be honest. Yeah, got that sort of reflection there, which is good. I like it. Um, so just on that, let's put the normal map back in and see how well that works now, because that's a lot better. So the thing is, this secondary maps allows you to like change the texture as much as you want, and if you wanted to, you could actually like if I wanted the metal to be a little bit different, I could scale that up and down as long as it's still in the same material to do that. So let's do that because I'm kind of interested to see what that looks like. So let's, how do we do this? Do that, do this one. So the problem here is if we scale that, it'll start going into different areas. So what I'm going to have to do is just really move this all in together. Now, of course, you could do a lot more, but I'm just going to put that in sort of there. Let's grab this and like grab some of these ones so we can just push that a little bit further. Sort of the smallest it can be. That's good, I think. So let's scale that up even more to that. Well, export, FBX, future so far, done. So as you can see, all of this didn't change, but this did. So if you had a different texture or something that's a little bit more kind of like different, like what you do is up to you. I like the idea of having like a sofa material. So let's do it. This is the problem with me. So I'm going to go to the docs because we have some resources. Where are they? Asset resources, textures. I think CG bookcase is pretty cool. So let's go to fabric. Which one do we want? Do we want cloth or do we want leather? Black leather. Let's do that. Now, we don't want the metal roughness. We actually want the normal map. So in this case, I'm going to go to channel packed and go down to 1K. Because we want this to be a really optimized asset. So I'm going to do that. So let's go to, where is it? Actually, no, this is going to be zipped, so I'm just going to do that open. Nope. Go back to our, unzip this. Works. So the way I'm thinking about it is leather would be good like when it's quite big so you can see the leather, but if it's really fine, you might get that sort of like really detailed element, which is kind of what I think is cool. So let's grab that, Control C, Control V. So I've got one black leather in there, load that up, go to our material, which is there, and then put that there. So I don't mind that. So let's add 5, 10. Now you'll notice there's a bit of interesting stuff there. That might be a normals thing. So I'm going to check that in a sec. So yeah, if you look at this, this is kind of leather. But if you look at this, it's kind of more small, kind of metal. That's why. Fix now. So on that, that's a normal thing. Because we imported a texture, we need to make sure it is a normal map. If you put a normal texture in, it is default. But we want the normal map, go apply. If you drag a texture that isn't a normal map setting, it will say fix now and that'll fix that. So that was the issue there. That's kind of cool. So you have this sort of like really fine metal and this really small element. So with that, I might make this, can I make it more subtle? Yeah, I can. So 0.5. Yeah. Perfect. All right. So we have a chat. Now, the next thing we need to do is you could, if you really wanted to, create a mesh collider, but it's a pretty low polygon asset, so it wouldn't be the end of the world. But me being me, I'm going to create an empty and just add some box colliders. They're super fast, get the job done, and to be honest, don't take that long to set up. So I'm going to do that. The other option is if you wanted to, you could create an even lower polygon. So you get sort of like the base shape, like flat box over the top there, to sort of create a simplified version. But really depends on how optimized you want to be, how much time you want to spend on that. Stuff like that. So I'm just going to quickly make, I think that's probably lined up, which it is. Put that down there. Then I'm just going to copy that one. Copy component, paste component as new, and then we can move this one across here. Mm. And one more at the back there, I think. And then we're done for us so far. Put that maybe kind of halfway between the two. This is a diagonal. There we go. And because the spawn point is overlapping the spawn, sorry, the sofa is overlapping the spawn point, we should move that. Let's turn it around so we can see its glory as soon as we log in. All right. Now, because those are emissive, thanks. um, because it's emissive, and if we made that static, hey, Felderami. I've seen you in the Discord. Welcome to the stream. Any final questions? Because I'm going to wrap up in about 5 minutes, I think. But not too bad in like 2 hours. Kinda, and let's see. We do have a sitting emote. I'm hoping that we can get interactive environments or assets soon. It's definitely on the to-do list. But for now, there is an emote that allows you to sit down, let's say, luxuriously. Make that static. Actually, I don't want that to be static because you don't need to. We just want that to be static. So if we baked this, that would glow a bit, which is kind of cool. But I'm not going to do that because that takes time and the stream gets a bit funny. So let's save. And let's build. Yeah, for sure. I agree. More interactive experiences are definitely a way to go. Now that we've got visual scripting, I think that's a huge thing. So looking forward to seeing what people do that. I think there is a way you can override animations. Ta-da. So I can't walk in it, but that's great. So let's sit. The catch with, there we go. And then see, sit. There we go. Done. But yes, hopefully we'll get some proper sitting emotes, or even as you mentioned, like interactive elements. I think that would be very good in regards to that. So, any other questions? I'm happy to answer, but otherwise, I might wrap up with a quick summary. So basically, what we did is we went through. Do I still have that up? Yeah. We went through sort of like the quick ideas of different approaches on simple, intermediate, or advanced assets. We kind of went with a very simple one, and because of that, we could use a very simple trim sheet. I don't know if it's called trim sheet, if it's just color, but it's it's basically trim sheets, I guess. You're designing your model with the texture involved, or in as a target. What I might try and do, because I'm kind of interested, is make the same sofa using probably the advanced assets. So we'll get that sort of sculpted look. Hang on, where is it? I'll pull across here. I'd like to do it again so we can actually see if we can get like this edging and these sort of things. So that would take longer for sure, because you'd be sculpting all these sort of elements, getting that detail in there, and like clean bevels around the metal, all that sort of stuff. So I think next week I might try and do that. Um, Maybe in a two-part because it'll take a good while to make this as a good sculpt. Um, so might look into that next week actually because I think that'll be a good approach. Um, yeah. So there's that. So today we looked at simple trim sheets. Um, and found reference through using Midjourney on the Mona Discord. The best approach, which is method 2 for this one, and then we made it in Blender, um, utilizing the UVs of what was it, 8? Like this could be as small as possible. Actually, we could even make it smaller. I think. Let's find out. So far, no, we want the texture. So, so this texture is 56 bytes. So if we put this together and this together, oh, so it's 200 bytes. It's not even a K, not even a kilobyte. So ridiculously small, but it does have the stone. This one here, so that's 1.3 meg. But we could, for example, put crunch compression. Oh, that's actually on it. Things like that, and that's a 1024 by 1024. Could be smaller. We don't need that much uniqueness in it. So we could shrink that. I don't think we need to shrink these. I kind of want to though. Do it. You can't get smaller. So that's fine. Um, what are these? These are that's why because they're 8 by 8 anyway. Um, so they're smaller than the actual minimum texture can be. So yeah, 56 bytes per texture on those. Apart from the normal, that allows you to do that, but you need to flatten that everything in the UV. So pretty good result to be honest. I think. And the texture, like the asset itself, how big is that? Um, I have not used PicoCAD. What's that about? Generally, generally, I had a long time ago. I was like, I'll try CAD. I want to see that. So that's about the fact you can get to 0.00000000000 dimensions is no. I just can't do it. So I sort of stayed away from anything with CAD in it for that reason. I'm assuming not everything does, but I don't need that kind of detail. I think max is like 0.00. Like that's the max you can get. I kind of forget. Wait, there is a way. Ah, there we go. So when you click on the mesh, you can see what we've got here. So yeah, one sub mesh, 856 triangles, which is ridiculously small and solid. And let's have a look at the actual playground. No, sorry, the asset and see how big that is in file size for the model. What am I looking for? Tutorials, workshops, asset creation, assets, models. Future so far, 41K. So with the what do you call it? With the normal map is bigger than the model and the material base. Incidentally, so this would be 45K for what I made today, and let's say another 500K when you compress it. So this is like a 500K asset. Stupid small, which is great. Oh, okay, so like you say pixelate, so you mean kind of like voxels, like squares, like basically mini Minecraft. Let's check it out. Ah, oh, low poly, low poly. Okay, right. Um, Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. Huh. The thing is, and this is the thing, that looks really cool for that style. The problem with me is I'm a graphics junkie, so if it doesn't look like God of War Ragnarok, I'm less interested. That said, that actually looks really fun. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I like it. Mm-mm-mm. Nice. So yeah, in this workshop, basically, we very much, very much went under the excellent VRM specs for an asset to make our cool sofa. Um, and yeah, so that's basically it. I think that's the thing. Like low poly assets are definitely a vibe, and we're definitely getting to the point, depending on your platform. So Mono definitely has limitations, but as you can see, you can actually make very good assets with very low polygon and material count. Once again, if you have the knowledge and time, I guess that plays a part in it to create those things. Um, I find it quite fun. Like I enjoy figuring out how to make something as small as possible, because it's kind of puzzle, not puzzle, problem solving. That's the one. Um, and as much as it would be great to basically do a sculpt and put it directly, it'll save a lot of time. And Unreal allows you to kind of do that with Nanite. Um, but that's very different technology. WebGL is quite limited. Once we get WebGPU, and if Unity picks that up, or anyone, like any organization, actually takes that to the next level, we'll be able to do some cool stuff with ray tracing and whatnot. Um, so the scope of all of this is kind of limitless. Like the hardware is getting much better, the software is getting much better, the AI is getting much better, and we're getting some really interesting results with that. But WebGL is still a little behind, but I think there's more focus on it because the metaverse has brought a lot of attention to getting 3D spaces into a web environment. Um, and personally, I feel Mono is one of the best ones in regards to that. As long as you can optimize and improve your assets as best you can. So there's definitely a balance between time, quality, frustration, because that comes up a lot. Um, what's the other one? Yeah, those sort of things, right? So this is like with five different things and pick three. Um, so, yeah, hopefully this workshop has offered some tools in regards to creating low poly design assets or even relatively high ones. Um, and once again, the key thing here is getting that material count down. So in this case, our asset has four materials technically. So metal, sofa, light, two colors. But Unity, and that's the thing, Unity thinks it's only one, which is what we want. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there. A good 2 hour session. One sofa made. What I'll probably do is actually put that on the library soon. I got to update last week's, last week's, because I took a couple of weeks off. The trim sheet version. I want to make the reactors for the doors, so you can sort of walk through those properly. I'll probably make an interactable door and a walk-through door similar to the chest, a walkable chest and an interactable chest. And I'll get these all up on the store, not the store, the library. And then I'll also put them in the playground because I've been adding a lot of those assets to the playground as well. So let's have a quick look at that because I like it. So resources, Mona Playground. Let's go. I think I've updated it. So basically, we've got all of the tools and things that you use in Mona. We've got some of the PPVs, for example. So we got like sort of like the fan. We've got the run effects. We've got the jump effects, and my favorite, which is the jumping castle. Big fan of that. What I have added though is basically this section over here, which covers some of the libraries. So we've got the bi-directional door. We've got opening in the door. We've got the different approaches to doors. And then we have the elevators as well, and how those get used. And some of the ones I made previously, which was a basically movable cube using reactor, as you see fit. We also have tick tack toe. Oh, that's interesting. Gonna have to fix that. And a timer. So we're going to be adding to those. I'll add the doors and the chests and the sofa here as well, and keep building that as we go. So yeah. Good question. I think I don't know. This is the short answer to that. Um, I'm wondering. At least in the past, I don't think there was enough interest in web-based experiences, and the tech might not have been there either. So you have those sort of two things where there weren't enough people wanting it, and the technology wasn't really there yet. Um, and in the last few years, because I don't know if WebGL has really been looked at, Unity is, and that's why we use Unity because Unreal doesn't do it at all anymore. I think they used to, but then they sort of got rid of it because they wanted to focus on, I think, visual production, virtual production, um, and streaming and all that sort of stuff. So my theory is that most of the game engines, anyway, didn't see any value in creating or focusing on WebGL. Um, and in that time, graphics cards got to where they are now, which is just stupid insane. Um, and I don't think WebGL was really designed with that in mind originally. So they'd have to either drop a lot of the elements of that because I think they're using OpenGL um, in the web, whereas WebGPU is a more recent approach to it, and that uses graphics cards in a WebGL in a web browser. So that would potentially have access to ray tracing and all of the amazing stuff that graphics cards have, sort of by default. So I think it's a few things that have slowed WebGL, but because of the metaverse picking up and a lot of people jumping in that space, I think Unity has already made suggestions or plans, I guess is the keyword there, to focus a bit more on that. I don't know if they'll go WebGL or WebGPU. I hope it's WebGPU, but maybe not. Um, so yeah, that's my understanding of it. The problem is like the whole aspect of it is a bit old and clunky. Um, so we're kind of limited by the is it the API? Is that the word for it? The background software that Unity has to use. So Unity isn't doing it. It's someone else, and I don't know who that is. That I do not know. I know nothing about WebGPU. Unfortunately, it sounds pretty cool. To my knowledge, with the few discussions that I've got on it, it does focus on using the graphics card to do its job better in a web browser environment. So, sounds cool, and has the potential. The problem with that one with phones is phones don't have 4090 RTXs yet. We'll see if that goes. But yeah, phones is different. That said, I'm assuming graphics cards or CPUs. I'm not exactly sure how phones do it, but I'm sure they're improving as well. That said, WebGPL would have access to all of that quite easily, I guess. But phones do have much more limited hardware than a desktop. So a lot of the spaces that you see in Mona probably are not optimized enough to work on a mobile or a standalone VR. So you really have to decide what is the desired device that you're descending it to and the design to that. So if you play any um, what do you call it, Quest 2 game, um, the quality of graphics is significantly less than, say, the PC VR game because of the resources that that tool has. Um, so, yeah, there's a lot of processes in regards to, yeah, choosing the platform, choosing the device, and then designing your assets for that device. Because that is one thing you just can't get around, regardless of how much you want it to. At the moment, once again, I think everyone's been blown away by Unreal and the nanotechnology. Unity is looking into similar technology, I think. But once again, those won't work in WebGL because WebGL. So yeah, that's my take on it. But because I'm more designer and less tech, I don't have all the answers for any of that. To be honest, that's just what I've picked up in my short discussions with people around the place, I guess you could say. So yeah. Oh, this is a place to sit. This is great. I'm gonna do that. Do, do, do. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's perfect. That's a good 2.5 hour session. Making a cool sofa. Talking all the good questions in regards to WebGL versus WebGPU and all that. Um, but yeah, I find the optimization process quite fun, actually. I don't think many people agree to that, but I think it's always good to enjoy the journey as much as the result, and that's a really good approach to doing that. Is enjoy the problem solving of making really cool assets that are streamlined for pretty much anywhere. Like that sofa would work in a VR space no problem. Um, because it's super tiny and the polygon count is quite low and look fine. So yeah, there's a lot of that. All right. Well, you've been pretty chatty this time, so that's been great. I appreciate that. Having chat in the conversation is always good to get the stream going. It's a lot of fun. Also, answering any questions, like it's a perfect opportunity to come in and ask all of the questions. It doesn't even have to be on the asset, just metaverse or in a lot of the space. Great conversations to be had, and I think we're in a good. I do feel that there's an underlying change in how everything is happening in the game space, in the web metaverse space, in all of that. So I think having these discussions makes us all educated and shares opinions from all people involved, and I think that's really important. So always happy to have those conversations. But yeah, all right, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Have a good day and happy building. Where's the thing? I'm gonna press the thing.